Thank you, ma'am.
Haley, just 1 second, we want to make sure.
Okay.
This plan to make sure that we're recording.
There's the agenda in here.
It's in the back. There was
In the back?
a folder in the other one.
Yes.
The back.
Oh, okay. Very nice. They have their agenda. Keep going, keep going.
I printed one, so.
Oh, you have it? Okay, it's in the back of that.
In this one?
Yeah.
Pull it.
Oh, got it. Welcome, good morning. Welcome to Indiana Deferred Compensation Committee meeting, August the 14th. We are welcoming some new members to this committee. So welcome to Hope Tribble. Thank you for joining us. And to Susan Sleeper. We really appreciate you all being with us. Susan, you are the county auditor in DeKalb County.
DeKalb County.
And certainly a participant in deferred compensation.
Yep,
Here's your
absolutely.
card. And Hope, you are your proper title is fiscal.
I'm the Director of Fiscal Policy for the Senate Democratic Caucus.
Thank you for your incredible service to
Thank
the
you.
legislature. We really appreciate the perspectives that you both will bring to enrich the service of this committee to those participants.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we will do our roll call. Chad Rainey,
Here.
Hope Tribble,
Here.
Susan Sleeper,
Here.
and Mike Frick will be absent. Hearing a quorum, I call this meeting to order. Capital Cities, will you please read the disclaimer for live streaming?
Thank you. Capital Cities LLC is an investment advisor registered under the Investment Advisors Act of 1940. The content of this presentation is provided for informational purposes only and is not to be relied on or acted upon as a recommendation or investment, legal, or tax advice of any kind to any viewer through electronic media. The presentation also may contain forward-looking statements which are based on the beliefs of and information available to Capital Cities management. Actual results could differ materially from those expressed in or implied by these forward-looking statements. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Capital Cities does not control the website or domain on which this presentation is stored and disclaims any responsibility for any information, services, or products found on websites linked to the page on which this presentation is stored. The unauthorized use of the content of this presentation without the express written consent of Capital Cities is strictly prohibited.
Thank you. Now we have the approval of the minutes from the May 15th meeting. Any questions or corrections?
Nope.
All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right. Approved and they pass. Thank you. Secure 2.0 or Roth and a special update here. We have a provision of the new Secure 2.0 Act that we need to learn more about. And there may need to be an update to the language in the plan. Mike Nader, our attorney, has details on this. Mike, we know that you are joining us virtually. Hand it over to you. Is Mike with us?
not sure if he's joined yet.
Hold
Oh.
on, let me unmute. I
Oh,
think
there
I,
he is. Hello,
I think I
Mike.
unmuted myself. Good morning, all. So we're in a unique situation with the Roth catch-up for Secured 2.0. It was supposed to go into effect in 2024. It was delayed until 2026. The IRS issued proposed regulations in January of 2025. The final regs are to go into effect the first planned year, 6 months after they're issued. still haven't been issued yet this year. So we're dealing with good faith compliance with proposed regs, with final regs going into effect no earlier than 1/1/27. There is the potential that the IRS will extend this for one more year, although it is a tax raising provision. So it's less likely than it was 2 years ago. So with your team and with Nationwide, we've been working and discussing the approach to comply with Secure 2.0, the Roth catch-up. And in a nutshell, what this provision provides is that if there is a participant who desires to make a catch-up contribution in a 401k, 403b, or 457b plan and exceeds the wage in effect at that time when the law was passed, it's 145,000 in FICA wages, that Roth catch-up has to be made, or that catch-up contribution has to be made on an after-tax basis. Some of the municipalities and government agencies that have adopted the deferred comp plan only provide for pre-tax without a Roth catch-up. And without the Roth catch-up, the ability to make a Roth contribution, high wage earners, those making more than 145,000, can't make a catch-up contribution. So we've been working with the comptroller's team and Nationwide. It's an outreach program trying to get more to extend Roth contributions to their plan, which will solve the issue. We have talked, and we will be making a recommendation in November. And we wait till November to see if the IRS is going to push off the effective date of this rule for one more year. But essentially what we would do is provide that when the plan is adopted, the adopting employers will adopt for both Roth and pre-tax unless they specifically opt out. So we'll create a default rule. And that's still under discussion among this kind of subset of a team to deal with this compliance issue. We are also coming up with policies and procedures to ensure that high wage earners are identified at each of the participating employers and coming up with a system so they are reported in to Nationwide so that we can assist with the compliance issue. The policies and procedures will also let the plan and the committee make corrective action to the extent inadvertently a high wage earner makes pre-tax catch-up. We can fix that. So we have a number of things going on with respect to the Roth catch-up provision. We're in good shape now. We'll be in better shape in November if we receive more guidance. But we are proceeding as if the rule is going into effect, and we will make a final recommendation to the committee at the next meeting. Before that meeting, we will present a summary of what we are proposing so you have time to digest it. And if you have any questions before then, we'll be happy to take them with email questions. And of course, if you have any questions today, I'm happy to answer them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
We look forward to getting updates from you in preparation for our meeting in November when we will have a vote on this. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Next, we have our third-party administrators report. Michael and Kim, I want to hand it off to you from Nationwide.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
great
you.
to be here with you today. First, I wanted to start off, and I saw the post on social media about the NAGDA award that Hoosier Start has been awarded in the category of holistic financial wellness. And this is the second year in a row that Hoosier Start has won a leadership award through NAGDA. And NAGDA, just for those who aren't familiar, is the National Association of Government Defined Contribution Administrators. It is the industry lobbying group and organization for public sector retirement plans on the defined contribution side. So we're all very proud of that as a group. And Emily was so instrumental in getting that actual campaign work that we did done. Worked so closely with our marketing team. Tammy wrote the submission for us and got that submitted, and we're just all thrilled and look forward to the conference in San Diego where we'll all be accepting that award.
Yes, thank you. And I also join you in acknowledging those with us who have played a critical role in this effort to further educate participants. And so great job, team. And I do think it is unique to be acknowledged or receive this award 2 years in a row.
Yes, I've never seen that before.
And just for those who are joining us new here, could you give us just a brief update on what the effort was
Yes.
for which we received this award?
Absolutely. So we have auto enrollment here in Indiana. So a lot of people are joining the program by default, by not opting out. And so there's not that level of engagement of active enrollment. And so we all thought that it was very a good idea to provide the leaders in the various state agencies with details about the plan to help disseminate that to their employees, to educate them, and also help increase their personal engagement within their retirement plans.
Thank you.
With that, I'll turn it over to Kim.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here as well. So good to see everyone. Just a quick update on our participant education and service. We continue to drive results and have pivoted, as I've shared before, with our virtual campaigns. We are doing a series of webinars that has, we've seen a significant increase in participation. We have exceeded 2,500 participants joining our webinars just since March 26th when I started measuring our attendance rate. We've seen those numbers virtually double, if not triple, and over years past, and that's in large part due to our partnership with marketing and the outreach efforts that we've made. We also continue those efforts in the field. Our team has begun to incorporate similar webinars with their territories in an effort to reach more people more effectively rather than the additional windshield time. So we continue to work on driving those results as well. We've seen a slight dip in enrollment over last quarter. From what I've been able to determine, I think that's largely based on the slowdown in hiring at the state level because of the auto enrollment that the state has. And although the field continues to drive new adoptions, we have 2 pending right now with a total of around 226 eligible participants. And we have several more prospects that are considering Hoosier Start with a much higher eligibles list as well. So we continue to drive efforts outside of the state auto enrollment. And we think that those numbers will continue to go up as more more plans are added. But we think it's largely due to the lower hiring rate at the state level. So thank you.
Okay.
Good. I did want to just introduce Tammy Tucker. She is our marketing representative that's assigned to Hoosier Start. She joined us, I want to say, for it's a little bit more than that, maybe 6 months ago. So, and she has come to us from some other plans that she worked with, and she and I go way back. We used to work on plan transitions in the nationwide together, and we've done several together. And so she's just a wonderful partner, and I think she's really jumped in with both feet and gotten to know the plan. And Tammy, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Just hello and thank you for welcoming me to the plan. I'm grateful for the things that we've already accomplished. Wanted to hit the ground running because that's the speed that the team was going at. And so it's just great to be able to to join such a team that is so involved and incredibly like at the forefront of making sure that participants have what they need for retirement.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We also have with us Sarah Carlo, who is our relationship consultant who works in operations, and she's my right-hand person and the one who gets most of that work that needs to be done done for us. So she's the get her done gal. So thank you. I'll just go through the report very quickly because I know there's a lot of items on Capital City's list. We did really have a great quarter after what started out rather uncertain with the market, with a whole lot of market volatility in April. But we ended up the quarter up $167 million in earnings, which is huge for 3 months. We're approaching $2.3 billion in assets for the overall Hoosier Start program. And it just seems to keep growing and growing and growing. So that's really good news. If you move on to to page 3, rather, we have exceeded 70,000 participants in Hoosier Start. That number does continue to climb, albeit maybe a little slower than it had in previous quarters, but we did have 500 more participants this quarter end as opposed to the end of March. So we're still moving in the right direction. Right below that, the average participant balance, we've reached $32,000 per participant, which may seem a little low, but there's a lot of those auto enroll participants who have smaller account balances that really kind of drag that average down. And I look back to where we were back in 2022, and we were in the $24,000, $25,000 range. So we've really made significant progress in the average account balance, up a third. So pretty great movement in that direction. The new enrollments that we have, the second box down on the left, 2,400. I looked, 2,170 were auto enroll, and then the remainder would be enrollments from the political subdivisions. And so we're looking at ways to increase the participation in the local political subdivisions, in addition to increasing the number of political subdivisions we have, so we can hit it from 2 different angles. So contributions, I'll hit that on a page, a couple of pages from now. You look at page 5. I comment most every quarter on the Roth balance. And I do that because I continue to be blown away by how much of an increase we're seeing in participation using the Roth source of money. At this point, 7.5% of the money that we have in the program is in a Roth source. And that's pretty good, considering it was 3 years ago where participants were able to choose to be in both. Before that, they had to choose either Roth or pre-tax, and most were in pre-tax. So I think we've made a lot of good movement there. There's a lot of education that goes into helping participants understand the benefit of Roth and why it may be a good idea for them. Self-directed brokerage options, still a relatively new thing. We have 14 accounts now in the self-directed brokerage account, $3.5 million, and of those 12 are in the state plan, and the other 2 are in the political subdivisions.
May I ask a question about page 4?
Absolutely.
The average participant balance at 32,000, median at 5.9.
Mhm.
Is that typical? Like, is that within the realm of what we would expect to see? Am I right? That's a pretty skewed distribution.
In a plan that has auto enroll, yes, that is very normal, because so many participants come in and kind of stick with what the prescribed auto features are, rather than actually engaging and making
Gotcha.
changes
Okay.
on their own. So it's
Very easy to
common
get
for
in,
that
but then
to
because it's easy to get in, no one actually is actively managing.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Absolutely. Let's see here, page 6. I call this out every time, but for the benefit of the new the new members of the committee, our salary contributions of 27.6 in the second quarter is down a little bit. And that's not because participants have stopped contributing. It's because there's one less pay period in the state's payroll during that time. State plan is kind of the 800-pound gorilla that kind of leads where the statistics go. So
That'll go up a lot. I think in fiscal year 27, there's 27 an extra pay period.
is there an extra one this year? I don't.
Next year.
It's usually just a difference between, there's either 6 pay periods or 7 in a quarter.
Gotcha.
So, and we had 7 last quarter and 6 in the second quarter. So,
The state's bi-weekly.
yes, biweekly.
Yeah, there's 26 this year.
And 27 papers next year.
I know there were 27 last year for sure. I don't know how often that rolls around, but I believe this year's 26. It's just happened to be where they fall each quarter.
Gotcha.
So one other thing on this page 6 is in the lower right-hand corner. I just want to point out we are approaching half of the new contributions going into the target date funds. And that's we're going to continue to see that number increase, but reaching half is an indication of where the plan assets are headed as well. And I looked ahead, and we've got about a quarter of the plan's assets are in the target date funds, and they're the plan's default. So that's where a lot of the money goes and stays because participants elect to remain in that or don't decide to make a decision about moving. On distributions on page 7, just keep an eye on the rollovers and transfers out. We are down from the first quarter in terms of rollovers and transfers out, though we have had 25 more participants roll out. So one of the efforts that we're undertaking this year is to educate participants about the benefits of keeping their funds within Hoosier Start, because so many participants don't understand the amazing benefit and value that they receive within this plan, and that they're going to pay so much more if they take it and move it into an IRA where they're paying individual fees rather than institutional level fees. So, and then unforeseeable emergencies, we keeping an eye on that as well. We had almost double the number of unforeseeable emergencies in the second quarter as we had in the first quarter. We do have, due to the law change for Secure 2.0, what's called self-certification unforeseeable emergencies. So the participant actually can just certify that they have and meet the requirements of an unforeseeable emergency, and then they are able to just take it. And so that's why we're kind of keeping an eye on it, because it's an opportunity to just get those funds.
Doubled from the last quarter.
Did in terms of numbers, the dollar amount did not. There usually is a dip in the first quarter, at least what I've seen historically. I have attributed that largely to people receiving their income tax refunds and having a bit of extra money during that period, and then it picks back up in the second quarter. So part of this is that bounce back from the lower quarter, but it's still it's the highest it's been.
Q2, 3, 4, fairly consistent, or is there historic trends there as well?
It's been increasing over time since we introduced the self-certification.
Okay.
So it's been trending up. We elected to put it in without any limits, but that may be something we want to look at if this trend continues. So I
And when
know
was
some
that?
other plans that.
When was that elected in? When was that change done?
That was in 2022, I believe. Does that sound right, Sarah? Or 23?
Change happened in the unit, August 23.
Okay, 23.
Is that considered a standard practice across plans to have that kind of
The self-
flexibility?
The self-certification is an optional provision, and I wouldn't say that most plans have elected it, but the committee and the administrator here elected to move in that direction. So I think the general feeling was that it's their money, and if they need it, that they should have access to it. Whereas before they had to go through a rigorous approval process, and we went through and made sure that they actually met everything to the letter of the law and reviewed all of the documentation.
Is there an opportunity for like a middle ground where it's not so onerous and burdensome, but at least makes people think twice before completing it?
What I've seen elsewhere is a self-certification with a limit on a particular number during the year. I've seen two. That's what another large state plan that neighbors Indiana has.
So you would self-certify up to the limit and then have to go through the certification process if it exceeded that? Is that the idea? Okay.
Yes. So just something to continue to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to kind of catch 22 because if somebody is really having an emergency situation, they're already stressed, and to have to get all that documentation is extra stress on top of everything.
You're absolutely
But
right.
those that are just getting it, yeah, and it isn't, yeah.
Does this type of distribution, can it be redeposited or is it's just,
It's not a loan, it is a distribution.
Sure.
However, if you have room within your limit to make additional extra contributions, you can kind of pay it back that way.
Mhm.
But it's not a loan where you
Right.
actually have the ability to just pay it back.
Okay.
Looking at assets on page 8, asset, as I mentioned earlier, right in the upper left-hand corner, asset allocation, we're approaching 25% of plan assets that are in the target date funds. And as you would expect, if you look at that long table on the lower right, the balance by asset class and age, 80% of new money is in the asset allocation, not new money, all money is in the asset allocation funds for those who are under the age of 30. So that's where your new employees are. That's who's being defaulted, and that's who's sticking with it. And I did want to turn to just a little bit further here on the page 21. And this is some enablement and engagement statistics. And one of the things that we are constantly paying attention to in the upper right-hand corner is the percentage of accounts that have beneficiaries on file. We're at 41%. That is not uncommon for plans that have auto-enroll because participants are enrolled without a beneficiary. And unless they engage and go in and add their beneficiary, it's just not going to happen. We are in the middle of implementing what we call next best action. Those who were in Columbus for the due diligence meeting earlier in May were able to see a preview of what's coming. But one of the things that we're going to be prompting participants to do is if they don't have a beneficiary on file, it's going to prompt them to add one when they log into their accounts. So we're excited to see that be implemented and actually more excited to see what lift it has on this percentage over time. So participant online accounts, that is something that I think we also need to work on here. 41% adoption of online accounts. That's relatively low. And considering we have 86% of participant accounts having an email address. We're going to do some additional push to get the online accounts there because that's pretty low. There's also a cybersecurity issue at play with not having an online account. Your account is at its most safe state once you've personally elected a username and password. That way somebody can't come in and who has your personal details and enter them and get into your account. And then my income and retirement planner, kind of in the middle at the bottom there, 20% of your participants have utilized our financial planning tool and retirement income planning tool. And we want to continue to see that number increase because it actually has a lot of benefits to it. When a participant engages with that tool, it helps tell them what they should do next. You should increase your contributions. You might want to consider rolling your outside retirement assets into the plan to take advantage of the benefits. You might want to look at your asset allocation, various items that will help them on their path towards meeting their retirement goals. So with that, that's all I wanted to cover in the report for this quarter. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you for this thorough update. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next, we have our third-party capital cities report. Excuse me, I missed a step here. We have our investment consultants report, capital cities with Susan and Tiffany. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to switch gears and turn to this packet that you have. Susan's going to briefly cover the report.
We'll start on the first page, which is the considerations and observations page. Our fiduciary project this quarter is the investment structure review, and during that presentation, we'll also discuss trends in the defined contribution space. We also wanted to notify the committee that we met the next break point for T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth. So we now qualify for the T4 share class, which is 5 basis points cheaper than the current T2 share class. We have been working with Stacy in the background on the paperwork for that, but we would like to pause here and ask the committee for a vote to transition to the T4 share class.
That's a savings about 5 basis points or about $114,000 annually in investment management expenses.
Super. Thank you. Any questions here? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
And a second.
Second.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good news.
And then looking at Fidelity Diversified International, we have been closely monitoring that fund for its short-term performance, which we consider a 3-year time period. The short-term performance has improved relative to its benchmark and its ranking in the top half of peers. So given that information, we've upgraded the stoplight to green on our stoplight grid. You'll see 2 operational issues at the bottom, and we've incorporated those into the investment structure review. So Tiffany will discuss those during that presentation. And then turning to page 2, which is our market overview. As Michael indicated, we did see a lot of volatility in the second quarter. However, all equity styles were positive. As you can see in the chart in the middle, the blue bars are for the quarterly returns. Taking a look at the left-hand side, our S&P 500 was up 10.9%, and that was driven by AI momentum as the Magnificent Seven rebounded, and they had an average return of about 21%. Moving over to large cap growth and large cap value. Large cap growth was the best performing style of the quarter, up almost 18%, with large cap value the weakest performing, up only 4%. And this was a reversal from what we saw in the first quarter. And then moving over to the right-hand side of the chart, both international developed and emerging markets were up almost 12% each. And that's as the dollar weakening supported those non-US returns. Over the 1-year time period, which are your gray bars, you can see strong performance across the board with large cap growth up 17.2% and leading the way, followed by the S&P 500 and mid cap core, both up 15%. Looking at individual sectors, info technology was up 27% for the quarter and communication services up almost 19%. And then moving to fixed income, we had nearly all styles modestly positive except for municipals as rates remain volatile. Looking at the Bloomberg aggregate, which is kind of our benchmark for the bond market, it's the fourth set of bars, had positive returns of 1.2% for the year and then 6% for 1.2 for the quarter and 6 for the year. And then our best performing style was non-dollar, up 7%. And then over the 1 year time period, you can see positive returns with the gray bars, with our plus styles being the highest performers, which is high yield, non-dollar, and EM debt, all up over 10%. And then just with that as a backdrop, the State Street retirement funds are again the default option for the plan. For the quarter, returns for those vintages range from 4.1% to 10.3%. And then over the 1 year time period, 9.7 to 15.4.
Many of the key things that we cover within the report is actually included in the investment menu review. So I'd like to go ahead and skip to that, if that's okay. And that is behind tab 1. And on page 2, you can see our fiduciary calendar. Just as a reminder, our firm delivers a custom project that's aligned with your fiduciary responsibility every quarter, in addition to that quarterly performance and evaluation report. So this quarter, we're focusing on evaluating the investment menu and also taking a look at trends within the industry. If we turn to this third page, you can see those fiduciary responsibilities highlighted there. Again, diversifying plan assets. Well, in this case, it's really having a diversified investment menu is one of those key fiduciary responsibilities. On page 4, we've given you the total plan assets. You can see we ended the second quarter with roughly 2.3 billion in assets. Taking a look under the hood as to where those assets fall, the target date funds represent about 25% of the assets. The core and specialty options, which are those standalone investment options that allow participants to build their own diversified portfolio, represent about 75% of the assets. And then finally, the self-directed brokerage at 0.1 or 0.2% of the assets. In addition to that, we have Nationwide's Pro account, which is their discretionary service for those participants seeking additional help. That represents about 707 million or 31% of the plan assets. And that's included as part of the total plan there. On page 5, we give you an overview of the broad investment offerings that are available to participants. Really the moral story here is regardless of their investment preferences, their time horizon, their investment knowledge, risk tolerance, regardless of all of that, we have an investment solution for them. So starting over on the very far left, we have the target date funds, which are the already diversified portfolios based on time horizon. In orange, we have the managed account solution, which is the Pro accounts with Nationwide. That takes into consideration other factors beyond just time horizon. So you're going to be looking at risk tolerance, other assets they have, all of those things that make a participant unique is built into providing them a custom portfolio. Then we have the core and specialty options for those participants who want to build their own diversified portfolio. And then finally, we have for those really investment savvy participants or those who are working with an outside financial professional, the self-directed brokerage account option, which allows them to access investments that are outside of the standard menu that you monitor as a committee. Page 6 just organizes all of those investment options by the role that they play within the investment menu. And you can see very comprehensive investment menu, and we're meeting all of those best practices that you'd like to see within an investment menu. So what we're going to do for the remainder of the presentation is really focus on the different ways participants can invest and really drill down into each of those columns that you see on page 6. But before we do that, I just want to give you a reminder of the different types of investment options that we offer. They can be passive or active. So a passive fund is one that just simply seeks to replicate a benchmark. The most common is the S&P 500 index. So you would be owning the exact same stocks within the S&P 500 index at the exact same weights. So very low cost because it's really just mimicking a benchmark. Then we have active funds. Those are funds where a manager is seeking to outperform a benchmark. So they're going to be investing away from that benchmark, holding different securities at times, holding different weights in that benchmark. But through their analysis, they're going to be seeking to outperform the benchmark. So that generally costs more than a passive fund. So I wanted to distinguish those two types of ways to invest before we break down each of those tiers and talk about them more, because it'll be important here in a second. So we'll start with the target date funds on page 8, and these are passively managed. So you're getting broad market exposure to all the major asset classes, and you can see those on the right, both bonds, inflation sensitive type of assets, equities. You're getting broad market exposure to all of those asset classes in a passive way, so a very low cost way. Our total cost for these target date funds are 6.5 basis points. State Street follows a very strategic type of glide path. They don't stray away from what their target allocations are. And automatically over time, they're making those portfolios more conservative for participants. So you can see that on the left side. You're giving away your stock allocations for more inflation hedging and bond or capital preservation type of funds as you get closer, and then 5 years past or 10 years past retirement. They closely mimic their benchmarks because of that passive exposure under the hood. And then the other thing that we wanted to note here is just recent changes. I know we've talked about it in some past meetings, but for the new committee members, just really wanted to highlight the changes that we've had here. One is the Retirement Income Fund was renamed Retirement Fund. Also, the 2020 fund merged with the Retirement Fund while the 2070 fund was launched. That happens every 5 years. And then we implemented the Boyer Research proxy voting policy for the State Street target date funds and also the equity funds that we offer within the plans. And that was really aligned to make sure that we were focusing in on our fiduciary responsibilities as it relates to proxy voting. So really pleased that that was implemented here at July. Now we're going to turn on page 9 to the core options. Again, these are the types of options that allow participants to build their own diversified portfolio. We want to make sure that we have exposure to each major asset class, which we do here. But the one thing that we've talked about in previous years, and as we look at the trends within the industry, is that we generally have seen a growing trend of plans offering both an active and passive solution within each of the major asset classes. And that's a way to better meet participant needs. Those who are wanting really low cost investment solutions with broad market exposure versus those who are willing to pay a little bit more to have active managers who are seeking to outperform a benchmark. So if we look kind of through the page, you'll see the two areas that we're missing in order to have that full active and passive track available would be within fixed income. You can see those three kind of dots there, and then also international equity. What we are recommending today is for you to consider to add those two types of investment options to the plan. So that would be a passive investment option by adding international equity ex-China so that we can continue to support that initiative to restrict it, and then also a core bond index. We have historically always done a public search whenever an investment option has been added to the plans. So we would issue a public, like a request for a proposal, called a broad agency announcement. We advertise it in pension investments. We put it on the comptroller's website. Our firm notifies managers. We get those responses. Our firm evaluates them and then brings them to the committee to evaluate. The other thing I would note too is our firm does not, that's not an additional fee from Capital City to add these two funds. That's included as part of our full retainer services. The only small fee related to this would be the advertisement and then pension investments. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions, or if you'd like to take a vote here, or if you'd like to wait to the end.
Any questions?
So these are currently not options.
They're currently not.
Recommendation is to make them options.
So participants could gain access to those types of funds within the self-directed brokerage account window if they would like. They would not be able to access them at the cost that we would likely be able to put them in the plan.
Okay, gotcha. I
Yeah,
think that answers my
Yeah.
question I was gonna.
yeah. We would be able to probably give it to them much less
Okay.
expensive. Given the institutional kind of buying power you have, the assets that you have.
All right. Before we vote on this, I'd like to go back to the previous vote. I believe I failed to ask for all in favor. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor for the second quarter performance and evaluation report, please say aye. Aye, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, now vote for this recommendation regarding the investment structure review. Do we have a vote or a motion to pass this recommendation?
So can I ask, for clarity, so this is to authorize you to go out and do
Yes,
the
sir.
process, and then you will come back for a subsequent vote on the results of that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we would not be selecting the investment managers. We would give you the results of the search.
I will make the motion to adopt the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
I do have one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you come back, in terms of the process, will you have like a slate of potential managers or will you recommend a particular, just interested in
Yeah.
the process?
It's a little bit more straightforward since it's a passive investment search. So our two big factors will be what's the cost and have they been able to closely replicate the benchmark? Those are going to be the two main factors. Rather than with an active search, we'd be making a closer evaluation of the team and their philosophy and process and how their performance has been. So yes, we will come back with here are all of the firms that responded and the products that they proposed. Here are the key factors distinguishing them, and here is our recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you for your question.
Mhm.
thank you.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
My motion carries. Thank you.
All right, excuse me, on page 10, we take a closer look at our stable value fund, and that's because it plays an important role within the investment. It's your capital preservation, meaning very low risk, really designed to provide a positive return for participants. We do an annual kind of in-depth review with MetLife, who is the global wrap manager and kind of provider of this product. We're not recommending any changes to the construction or any negotiations to occur, and that's really been given all strong efforts that have historically been done. But just to give you an overview of how that stable value fund is constructed, because it is quite different than a typical investment option. We have the money market fund, which is the Dreyfus Government Money Market Fund. Think of that as kind of like your checking account. It handles the daily cash flows for participants. Then we have the Fidelity MIP2 fund, which is really more like our savings account. It provides a little bit of an additional return. And then finally, we have the MetLife Core. That's more of your investment oriented kind of returns that you're seeking. All of it, though, is very high quality liquid bonds that construct that portfolio. And then you have an additional layer with wrap providers. In the case of MetLife, we have Transamerica and Voya, who provide insurance. They're really designed to ensure that participants can always transact at book value plus accrued interest, which really just means it's designed to make sure that participants don't lose money. So a lot of layers there that we have to evaluate as part of that review, but wanted to let you know that that review has been done again and no recommended changes. On page 11, we highlight how we're evaluating each of your investment options per the investment policy statement from a qualitative and quantitative perspective. You can see green lights across the board with the exception of T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth, the long-term performance, which is a 5-year time period. We continue to monitor that fund. It was previously on watch list, but given improved short-term performance, we removed it from watch list, but we continue to monitor that long-term number. And then we have self-directed brokerage on page 12. 14 participants, as Michael noted, 3.6 million. It's really designed for those participants who are very investment savvy. or they're working with an outside financial professional to access investments that are outside of that standard menu that you monitor. And then lastly, we have some trends within the industry that we wanted to note. I won't go through every single one, but over on the top left, I always think this is important for us to discuss, especially when we have periods of volatility like we did in April. We often get the question of, well, what are you doing? And as fiduciaries and as a committee who's overseeing the plan, we're not making any changes. I mean, our process is really designed to weather all different types of market environments. So by that, I mean, we have a sound investment policy statement that provides that roadmap for how we monitor the plan. We have a diversified investment menu for participants with a proper default option for those who are seeking help. And then we have that ongoing fiduciary oversight, including that calendar of making sure that we're addressing all those fiduciary responsibilities every year. From a plan standpoint, you're really in line with where we see most plans. And these are all large plans. The vast majority over 200 million. And then on top of that, about 67% were over $1 billion. So in line with where you are. About 57% are offering managed accounts, which you have with pro accounts. Some are offering white labeled funds, which you have with the Indiana Stable Value Fund, which is custom to your plan. Also the Indiana Flexible Bond Fund, again, which is custom to your plan. We see a growing trend of collective investment trusts over mutual funds within defined contribution plans. So for instance, with State Street and with the T. Rowe Price, we're able to access more institutional type vehicles given our size to reduce the expenses for participants. Most are offering an active and passive investment options. And you see at the bottom right, over 50% now are offering that passive and active track. Within self-directed brokerage, the full window is where the majority are offering. So a wide array of investment options within the self-directed brokerage. Michael talked at the bottom about trying to seek to retain participants' assets within the plan because of the strong oversight and the low fees that they can get. The one other thing that I would note, and we've talked about it in previous years, is that kind of as an industry, we've really focused on trying to get participants to save more for retirement, but that's kind of switched now with the focus of how do we help participants spend their money down properly within retirement. So we've seen an influx of new products being come to the market. A lot of that was a result of the Secure Act passing at the end of 2019. Many of them have been tied within the target date fund offerings. We continue to see those products emerge, not a whole lot of adoption yet, but we're keeping a close eye on that space. So we'll continue to, keep you informed of that. And I know I just talked a lot. So I will pause there and see if there are any questions or anything else that we can do to assist.
Madam Chair, Tiffany, what is the white label fund? Can you describe that a little bit?
So sometimes to simplify what the investment offering is for participants, you can change the name of it. So instead of saying the T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth Fund, you could say a growth equity option. What we have done is and you'll also see it sometimes for just custom funds. So we have the Indiana Stable Value Fund. We don't call it the Dreyfus Fidelity MetLife combo. We call it just the Indiana Stable Value Fund. And then we have the Indiana Flexible Bond Fund, which represents two different managers, PIMCO and Reams. Thank you. That is on page 30 of the first tab. So again, we tied what those two managers are doing to what the name of the fund is. So we called it the Indiana Flexible Bond Fund, but it is really 50% Reams Unconstrained Bond and 50% PIMCO Dynamic Bond. For instance, the Indiana Public Retirement System DC plan uses all white labeled funds for their funds too.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Susan and Tiffany, for your report here. Really appreciate your support for what we do. All right, with that old business, I wanted to ask Hope and Susan, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with us briefly what interested you about serving with us here on the Deferred Compensation Committee, and just give you the floor for a moment to share any remarks on this, your first time with us, and we're so glad to have you on this board.
Sure. So just by way of introduction, again, I'm Hope Trimble, Director of Fiscal Policy for the Senate Democratic Caucus. It's my second time at the state. I also worked in House Ways and Means several years back. And I finance major, public policy, masters, and a career in government service, so all three levels. And my first job out of college was at the Calvert Group, which is had a family of funds. And so I was investor representative, so I had to know about all of the funds. And that was on top of being a finance major. So I got a sense of the markets and how they moved, and the importance of retirement planning and assets. So Stacy asked me if I was interested, and I thought, yeah, it would be great. Also as a member of the plan, to see it more up close, and also to be a part of the oversight.
Thank you. We are so glad to have you on board, and all that experience. It's just going to translate into helping us do the best job we can in being fiduciaries. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
All right.
Susan.
I am the DeKalb County Auditor. I'm in my first term, which will end the end of next year. I was caucused in early for our prior auditor. I've been with the office for 13 years, and I was honored when I got the email that I was suggested to see if I was interested. And I really just want to learn more about it. I mean, at this point, I always participate. The Auditors Association, we always talk about it at our conferences and things like that. So I wanted to be able to understand it more and see how it all lays out to help our local level be able to understand why it's so important to join or continue. And like, I didn't know until right now when those that are leaving, I didn't know that they could transfer other assets in to be able to stay. So things like that, that we might not know on a local government level that we can pass along.
Well, we really appreciate the perspective that
Thank
you
you.
bring from the perspective of local government.
you.
That's critical for us.
Yes.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Any other old business or new business?
I'm here.
All right. Then do we have a vote to adjourn this meeting? Motion
I'll make the motion.
and a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.